Young Sheldon's final meltdown proves its Amy finale flash-forward cameo was a mistake. Young Sheldon wrapped up its 7-season run with a deeply emotional, nostalgia-laden finale, but it wasn't without its flaws. Among the most controversial elements was the brief cameo by Mayim Bialik's Amy Farrah Fowler in a flash-forward sequence. While many fans were initially thrilled to see Sheldon and Amy again in their The Big Bang Theory future timeline, the finale's focus on Sheldon's younger self and his grief made Amy's appearance feel like a misstep in hindsight. Young Sheldon's final meltdown, a raw, heart-wrenching portrait of a boy crushed by loss, was undermined by a feel-good cameo that ultimately diluted the show's most powerful moment. The power of the meltdown scene, at the emotional core of young Sheldon's final episodes, was the sudden death of George S.R. Sheldon's father. This pivotal event, long foreshadowed by The Big Bang Theory, finally arrived with devastating weight. The aftermath was shown not through melodramatic spectacle, but through a slow unraveling of the Cooper family, especially Sheldon. For 7 seasons, young Sheldon explored the evolution of a genius boy growing up in small-town Texas. While viewers knew he would eventually become the eccentric physicist on The Big Bang Theory, the show also reminded us that Sheldon's childhood was not just filled with academic achievement, but also profound emotional trauma. George's death marked the point of no return, the moment Sheldon's shield of logic could no longer protect him from the messiness of grief. And then came Sheldon's meltdown. In one of the series' most quietly powerful scenes, young Sheldon, played brilliantly by Yane Armitage, breaks down alone in his room after returning from his father's funeral. No science. No quips. No narration. Just a kid crying. It was gut-wrenching and honest, a far cry from the sanitized Sheldon we'd grown accustomed to on The Big Bang Theory. The show had never felt more real. Enter Amy, a tonal misstep, but just as the show cemented its emotional climax with Sheldon's meltdown, it did something jarring. It jumped forward in time. Suddenly, we were back with adult Sheldon Jim Parsons and Amy Mayim Bialik, now married with children. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. After the rawness of young Sheldon's grief, viewers were asked to pivot instantly to a cozy domestic scene filled with banter about parenting, Nobel Prizes, and video games. It was meant as a nod to fans, a way of tying young Sheldon back into the Big Bang Theory universe one last time. But it didn't land. Instead, the flash-forward felt emotionally disconnected, like an afterthought designed more for nostalgia than narrative cohesion. In trying to honor the past, the show betrayed its present. The cameo diminished Sheldon's emotional growth. What made the Amy cameo particularly damaging was the way it framed adult Sheldon's reaction to his father's death. After watching young Sheldon experience the most profound emotional moment of his life, we might have expected some kind of reflection from his future self. A moment of gratitude. A solemn acknowledgement of what George Sr. meant to him. Instead, adult Sheldon is all smiles. He tells Amy he wrote his memoirs as a way to remember the people who shaped him, but never once in this flash-forward does he linger on the pain, the loss, or even his father's legacy. Amy playfully chastises him for turning their son into a mini Sheldon, and the scene ends on a quirky note. The tonal whiplash is staggering. This wasn't just a missed opportunity. It was a contradiction. We just watched a child come apart because he lost his dad, only to see his adult self treat that past like a charming anecdote. Amy's presence softened the moment further. Her lighthearted dialogue and casual demeanor created a protective bubble around Sheldon, keeping him and the audience from truly feeling the weight of his childhood trauma. Why Amy's cameo worked in The Big Bang Theory, but not here. Mayim Bialik's Amy was a beloved character on The Big Bang Theory, and her chemistry with Jim Parsons was part of what made the later seasons so successful. In the Big Bang series finale, Amy's presence was essential. She and Sheldon shared a heartfelt moment on the Nobel stage that beautifully encapsulated their journey together. But young Sheldon is not The Big Bang Theory. From the start, young Sheldon differentiated itself with a more grounded tone. It leaned into realism, family dynamics, and emotional nuance. When the show embraced nostalgia, like in the voiceover narration by Jim Parsons, it did so with restraint. By physically inserting adult Sheldon and Amy into the show's final moments, young Sheldon momentarily abandoned its own identity. Amy's appearance worked in Big Bang because that show was always about the ensemble, a story of quirky adults learning how to be better friends, partners, and people. But young Sheldon was never Amy's story. Her inclusion in the finale, no matter how brief, felt like an imposition from another genre. A better ending without Amy. The final episodes of young Sheldon already had everything they needed to land emotionally. Missy's quiet anger, Mary's descent into bitterness, Sheldon's isolation. These were the threads that mattered. These were the arcs that deserved closure. The voiceover narration, with Jim Parsons reflecting on the people who shaped his life, was enough. It gave viewers the bridge they needed to connect the child to the adult without disrupting the emotional tempo of the story. It honored George Sr., it honored the Cooper family. It honored Sheldon's journey. Inserting Amy shifted the focus. It turned the ending from a meditation on grief into a checklist of references. Instead of letting Sheldon's story breathe, the show felt compelled to remind us of what came next. That decision cheapened what came before. Nostalgia versus narrative integrity. It's understandable why the young Sheldon creators wanted to include Amy. She and Sheldon are a fan-favorite pairing. Bringing her back gave audiences a sense of closure, a glimpse into the happy life Sheldon eventually found. But fan service should never come at the expense of story. And in this case, it did. The show's creators seemed torn between two instincts, honoring young Sheldon's identity as a grounded family drama and celebrating the Big Bang Theory's broader sitcom legacy. The result was a finale that tried to do both and did neither justice. Had the show ended simply with Sheldon walking onto his Caltech campus, alone, a little older, still grieving, it would have been perfect. That image, combined with Jim Parsons' narration, would have said everything we needed to know, that Sheldon moved forward, but never forgot where he came from. Instead, the show jumped ahead decades and gave us a punchline. Conclusion: Amy's cameo was sentimental, but misplaced. There's no denying that Mayim Bialik's Amy is a treasured part of the Big Bang universe. But her cameo in young Sheldon's finale was ultimately a sentimental misstep. While it might have given longtime fans a thrill to see her and Sheldon together again, it robbed the moment of its emotional integrity. Young Sheldon's final meltdown was not just a scene, it was a statement. A declaration that Sheldon, for all his quirks and genius, was still just a boy who loved his dad. That moment deserved the spotlight. It didn't need a sitcom-style epilogue. It didn't need nostalgia. It needed space to be felt. In trying to tie a neat bow on Sheldon's life, young Sheldon forgot the messy, beautiful truth that had spent 7 seasons telling, that growing up is hard, that loss leaves scars, and that even geniuses grieve. Amy's cameo, however well-intentioned, simply didn't belong in that story.